where did it flip in your mind where it's like, okay, like I'm here, I'm rowing, I'm competing, this new sport, exciting. Where did it flip in your mind where it's rather than it's being something that's brand new to you and the excitement that comes with that, where it's something where, okay, like there's a path actually beyond college that I could pursue because of what I'm doing here now? Like, where did that start to materialize for you in the early parts of your college career or later parts of your college career?
Yeah, I would say that didn't kind of flip until my junior year. And I walked onto a team it was a very large team, and when I started, right, and then my novice year, at some point in the year, I forget exactly when, like a lot of the senior class for whatever reason quit. And we had this big novice group, and there were some really competitive athletes in there, some really tough kids in that class. And so my freshman year, my novice year, by the spring, me and a couple other guys got called up to row the varsity because they needed the seats. And we had moved along far enough that they felt like we could make the jump. And so my novice year, I got pulled up to the varsity team. And then that was when it was like, okay, this is going well, like, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Like, this is a lot of fun. I'm going to keep doing this, to the detriment of my schoolwork and all of that. And so then it kind of just went like that for a couple of years, where I just was like really enjoying the time with the team and being on the team and doing the training and doing the work. And the coach was awesome. It just was a lot of fun to go to practice every day. And then my junior year, my erg score really started to drop. And my junior year, I got I got down to like a 605 or 606 or something. And then I saw that, the Crash Bees, you could qualify for the Crash Bees and get a trip paid for to Boston. And I wasn't that far off on that. And so when I went to an erg race in Cincinnati, I had to break 602, and I went 601.9, and I got this big trip paid for to go to Boston for the Crash Bees. And, my family went out and made a trip out of it. And then at that Crash Bees, I went 555, and I got a bronze or whatever, third in the collegiate division against Garrett Miller, who was, a beast at Penn at the time. And he's going like 542. And then this guy from Jacksonville, this Norwegian guy from Jacksonville. And, just being around that environment and seeing all the different athletes from all those different programs at Boston, and seeing that it was like a real legit sport. And like a lot is happening outside of, what I've learned at Ohio State. And I think that really sparked, oh, maybe I can keep doing this and take this further, than just Ohio State.
And what led to you, number one, like obviously, there has to be something going right in order to get to that level of performance on the erg, especially. Like, what was it? Just your internal competitiveness of the program that got you to that point? Was it you? Like, because this is something I love talking about, where it's like, okay, well, there's those people. Obviously, we talked about the high school path, right, and doing a little bit of extra work on the side and things like that. Like, to get to 605 and then obviously position yourself to go sub 6 and be in the spot as a junior, like, what was that looking like? Was that just, hey, like we're like a club program and we're training 6 days a week doing this and this? Like, were you doing something different? Was there this thing in the back of your mind where it's like, oh, I know that, I want to beat this guy on the erg, and he's going, 610, and I got to get down to 605 to beat him because the erg is, this thing that's important to what we do as rowers, apparently, right? As a walk on, right? Like,
yeah.
what led you to that?
There's a couple different things. One, the coach, his name is Tim Carrig. He's an awesome dude. And I had multiple coaches over those years, but when he was there, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is when Gladstone was at Brown, and he basically told us that Brown's the best team in the country, so we're going to do their training. And so he told us he got a hold of whatever training program they were doing, and we just did what they did. And so it was a lot of mileage on the ergs. Um, it was the 2 by 40 minutes and 12 by 500 and like 1500s and just a lot of like repeat 6Ks, and it was a lot of volume, and it was a lot of hard strokes, like just hard all the time. And I think we wanted to win, and I think at Ohio State, like, we wanted to prove that as a club we can compete with these IRA schools, and we can go and compete against all the elite schools that do that sport. And so that was our motivation, that was our goal, and that's what we trained to do. I lifted a ton of weights. I think I put on like 30 to 35 pounds my freshman year. So you had all that going on. And then in the background, there was a lightweight rower at Ohio State who was a friend of mine, a good dude, and very fast runner, very fit, very strong, had some rowing experience at a different club, different program. And we used the honor system for our 2Ks. So there was a big chalkboard in the boathouse, and you would come down in between classes and do your test and then write it on the board. And he wrote up 5:56 one year. And this was when, the lightweight world record was like a 6:11 or something like that. I forget what it was at the time, but, I had no idea. Like, I just knew that I had 30 pounds on him and I should be able to beat him. And so that's what I set out to do. And eventually I got there. It took me a few years, but eventually I got there. And, then we learned that those scores were kind of made up and the whole thing. But I think for me, it was, not the ignorance was key, like not knowing where my limits were, I think allowed me to push myself beyond anything that I probably would have done if I had just assumed that 6'10" was good enough. Like, I wanted to be the best in the boathouse. I wanted to be the fastest erg. And, not knowing that was like off the charts good, I just was like, okay, I'm going to beat that guy. And I think there's a lot to that sort of perspective and that power of limits and the perspective of limitations that you might have or put on yourself. That kind of goes away when you're ignorant to all that, when you don't know any better. And there's a fearlessness there that's like, if someone else can do it, whether or not it's true or not, if you think they can do it, then you can do it. And I think that was a big part of it. And then I guess lastly, it was a lot of my erg tests that I made big jumps on, the women's team was watching. And so, you're trying to show off for the team. And, I did like performing and racing in front of a crowd. I really did enjoy that. And so it felt good. And so I think those three things all factored into, where I was able to get to in college.
And and I mean, first, like, I think one of the things that instantly comes to mind is like, we all talk about, like, we all hear about the 4 minute mile, right? And it's like, okay, well, once the like, when you kind of set that carrot, to kind of chase that you're chasing after, right? To be able to push through that, even if it is a little bit of blind disbelief, whatever, right? You're still going to chase it. And I think that's part of the excitement to me, like when it comes to like a walk-on athlete as well, where it's like, in my experience as a college coach and beyond, like, they don't know any better, right? Like, the ones that you see who have really good success, like, they don't know any better, right? They think that, okay, well, this is the number to hit because this guy's doing it. I'm going to chase after that. Right. And then they get it. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, what's next? Okay, well, that guy is a senior and I'm a sophomore. Okay, well, now I'm going to go after him. And like, I think that, again, that when they're just leading their way in, and they're a little bit blinded to how difficult that actually is, they just go for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think there are examples of that, obviously, at the highest level as well. Where would you say, like, this is something I love talking about as well, but because I do want to talk about, okay, well, finishing off your junior year and having that performance at Crash Bees, and then, okay, well, the path beyond that, right? Like, what, where does that lead to, a career of going to the Olympics and beyond? But before we get to that, how would you describe like a lot of what has led up to this point has been talking about the erg, and I'm a huge advocate for the machine and helping athletes create a level of comfort with the machine, actually using it for what it truly is, which is a like in my opinion the best fitness tool, measurable fitness tool for rowing success, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
at least to kind of see it on paper. How would you describe coming from you that the relationship that you had with the machine, and then how you feel athletes can better, or at least what they should be aware of, or I'm trying to think of a good way to think about it. It's like, how would you describe the importance of the machine and the relationship with the erg, and how it helped you in this period of your career?
Yeah. Um, for me, the machine, it was definitely, it became a love-hate relationship. But in the beginning, it really, I was, my parents had gotten a divorce when I was a senior in high school. And I kind of like went to college and was a little bit aimless and kind of drifted around. And uh, the machine actually gave me a focus and a thing to do that's going to get out all that frustration and anger and help me deal and cope with all of those emotions. I literally think that's what it was for me in the beginning. And it was something that fortunately I was good at. Like it, I understood it early. The numbers made sense. There was a direct relationship between effort and, going faster. And so I think I really got into that. And I think um, everybody, like the thing with the erg is it's a necessary tool. You cannot go fast and be slow on the erg. You will always get beat by someone who can row just as well as you and can go harder on the erg. And so you it's a requirement in my mind to do the training on the erg and get as good as you can on the erg if you want to have any chance of winning on the water. Um, and so I just felt like it was something I had to do, and I enjoyed it for the most part, especially early, because it's and the other thing is it's very tangible and it's very easy to see success and see growth. And so it's direct feedback, whereas when you're learning and you're on the water and it's like there's so much going on that you're feeling and dealing with that, like it's hard to quantify like if you're getting better. And so I think for younger athletes and especially people that are walking on, it's like a great tool for like, hey, this is working and you're doing a good job and you're getting better. And then you can work on your skills on the water alongside that. And you don't have to rely on sort of this subjective improvements on the water. So I think it started with that. And then over the years, I hated it. I didn't like doing it. I got, you get to a certain level and you're like, you get arrogant and you think, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. And I think that's the trap a lot of people fall into, is that they forget like what it took for them to get to where they are. And they start to think that they can do it a little bit better, a little bit different. And the great thing about the erg and the great thing about rowing is there's no shortcuts and there's no way around doing the work. Like you have to do the work and you have to put in, like there's a minimum amount you have to do. And the erg is a big part of that. Whether you like it or not, there's no getting around it. And I think coming face to face with that sort of fear and anxiety and uneasiness, like it is a machine that will teach you more about yourself than most other things in any other sport I've done. It's just you and the machine, and you can't blame anybody else. And so there's like an honesty and an accountability on that machine that I think is invaluable. And that's the main reason I think it has stuck around so long and why people do it, aside from the fitness, is that it really tells the truth. And I think athletes need to know the truth if they're going to get better.